In a chilling warning, Hungarian Foreign Minister Peter Szijjártó has sounded the alarm. Ukraine's bid for NATO membership could trigger the unthinkable, World War III. As tensions mount in Europe, Szijjártó's words have sent shockwaves across the continent.
Just came around to say hello. I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
At a tense press briefing in Budapest, following a key meeting with Serbian officials, Szijjártó laid bare the catastrophic risks of Ukraine joining NATO. He emphasized that the alliance's mutual defense clause could pull NATO into a full-scale war with Russia, a nightmare scenario no one dares imagine.
From the very beginning of the war, we have drawn some red lines. And one of these red lines is that we have to do our best and utmost in order to avoid any form of direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. Because in case such a direct confrontation takes place, easily can end up in the outbreak of the Third World War. And I'm quite sure that no one would like to, or at least normal people would not like to experience it, right? So, in case Ukraine becomes member of NATO, that would mean a direct confrontation between NATO and Russia, and that would mean Third World War, and we just simply want to avoid that.
Ukraine's urgent push for fast-track NATO membership, filed amid the chaos of Russia's invasion in 2022, has been welcomed by several NATO allies. Yet, Hungary has stood its ground, issuing this grave warning that membership for Ukraine would spark a global conflict that no one is prepared for. At the recent NATO summit, leaders vowed to support Ukraine's path to Euro-Atlantic integration, but with stringent conditions. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin watches closely, viewing Ukraine's potential NATO membership as a direct and existential threat to his regime. Putin's demands are clear. Ukraine must drop its NATO ambitions and surrender key territories if peace is ever to be on the table. Hungary, however, remains defiant in its approach. With Prime Minister Viktor Orban maintaining close ties to the Kremlin, Hungary has become an outlier in the EU, a lone voice of dissent against Ukraine's NATO dreams. In a fiery clash at the European Parliament, Orban sparred with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, exposing the deep divisions within the EU. The bitter confrontation revealed the fractured heart of Europe. The heated exchange wasn't just about Ukraine. It was about Europe's future, from Russia's war to the EU's response, competitiveness, and the surge of irregular migration. Orban slammed the West's handling of the war, calling it poorly planned and accusing EU leaders of incompetence.
Since the outbreak of the war, you, the Western countries, have bought Russian oil from Turkish or Indian refineries for $8.5 billion. And you are criticizing us? You paid $8.5 billion. This is hypocrisy.
There are still some who blame this war not on Putin's lust for power, but on Ukraine's thirst for freedom. So I want to ask them, would they ever blame the Hungarians for the Soviet invasion in 1956? Would they ever blame the Czechs or Slovaks for the Soviet repression of 1968? Would they ever blame the Lithuanians for the Soviet crackdown of 1991?
As if the tensions with the EU weren't enough, Szijjarto has launched another explosive accusation, this time targeting the United States. He claimed that American entities poured millions into Hungary's 2022 elections, meddling to unseat his government.
What I know is that during our election campaign back in 2022, there were very serious attempts to interfere. Millions of dollars have been spent by American entities in the Hungarian elections, during the Hungarian elections.
Okay.
Investing into our opposition, investing to opposition media. This still has been going on.
On Friday, the Hungarian Prime Minister made a shocking claim. European Union leaders are plotting to overthrow his government.
The president of the European Commission and the leader of the European People's Party, Ursula von der Leyen and Manfred Weber, announced that they want to overthrow the Hungarian government. They declared that they wanted another government. And they also named those who would lead this future. Let's say a Brussels-friendly government, because this national, sovereign Hungarian government is not good for them. And they said it so openly.
With Hungary's defiance at a boiling point, its strained relationships with NATO and the EU have reached a critical juncture. Orban's battle with Brussels, his warnings of World War III, and allegations of foreign interference paint a picture of a nation at the center of Europe's most dangerous political storm.